friends, welcome back to She's At It Again. Today we're going to be making a spice mixture for a big pork loin, and I'm going to put it in a roasting pan, not a slow cooker, but a big roaster. I'm going to set it out on the front porch, and you're probably going, why would you put it on the front porch? Because it's warm enough here in Arkansas right now to where my air conditioner's running during the day, and who wants a heat source in the middle of the room when you have the air conditioner running? They are just going to have a nasty fight, and nobody's going to win at this. So we're going to take our roaster, plug it in on the front porch. You could do the garage, the backyard. Nothing's going to touch this pan because it's too hot. No animal's going to come along and tip it over. But we're going to cook this out on the front porch for several hours today and hopefully make some pulled pork sliders. If it's not tender enough by the end of 6 to 8 hours, we'll make sliced pork sliders. So go with us as we make our spice mixture, and then I'll show you how to cut up this roast to where it'll cook more evenly and have a bigger surface area. So go with us. All right, so I've got this ginormous mixing bowl, and I'll show you why we have it in that mixing bowl after a while. But right now we're going to make up our spice mixture, and it has a few ingredients. So to this big giant bowl, we're going to add about 1.5 tablespoons of paprika. And I just have these in these type of bottles. It just looks like a little brown bottle with a homemade label because it is, because I buy my spices in bulk at a local store, either our natural food store or Good Measure Market. I go in there and it's just like almost shoe shopping when I was younger. I love going in there. 1 tablespoon of salt. Need about 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. I just ground this up earlier. It's about 1.5 teaspoons of black pepper. Teaspoon and a half of onion powder. Now, a tablespoon is 3 teaspoons, so half of this will be 1.5 teaspoons. I need about 2 teaspoons of cayenne. This mixture is called BAYOU Blast, and by that name you can tell that it is a Cajun mixture. So it's a little bit on the spicy side, so if you don't like spicy, by all means back off the cayenne and only put maybe 1 teaspoon of cayenne pepper in there. 1.5 teaspoons of dried oregano. And lastly, well, almost lastly, with the spices anyway, 1.5 teaspoons of dried thyme. Optionally, at the end, you can put some sugar, and I'm going to opt for coconut sugar because it is not a refined sugar. So we'll go with about 1.5 teaspoons of that. If you just have conventional white sugar, you're more than welcome to use that. A better option for sugar would be raw sugar, which is not bleached. So just make good choices as you're going along, because food is medicine. And the older you get, the more you believe that. All right, just make sure we don't have any chunks of anything left in there. Now we're going to turn our attention over to the sink area where I have my pork loin. I'll take the camera over there and you can see what we're doing. We're going to cut this in a way where we have more surface area, so more of our BAYOU Blast will stick to it. So let's go over to the sink. Okay, we're at the sink now. This is what my pork loin looks like. And normally you would get a piece of meat that has quite a bit more fat in it, but I didn't. I just bought this one because it looked pretty at the time and I had no plan for it, but I have a plan now. first thing I always do when I buy this pork that's in these vacuum sealed bags is I take it out and I give it a little rinse, because it seems like when they slice this stuff, sometimes bits of bone and stuff stick to the blade or somewhere on the machinery. Maybe it's on the conveyor belt, I don't know. But it has these little tiny bits of bone in it, and I don't want to get that in my mouth, and I'm sure one of my guests do not want to get that in their mouth either. So try not to splash it any more than you have to. I mean, this is a dead animal, but in reality, you got to do something with it. I just want to get those possible pieces of bone off that. Now, as you can see, this has kind of a layer of fat in the back, but it's mostly just lean meat right there on this top part. So what I want to do is give this as big of a surface area as I can, so more of our seasoning mix will stick to it, because that's where a lot of the flavor is. All right, so I'm gonna take this meat and I'm gonna do like you would when you make like a stuffed pork loin. I wanna make a cut in it. Actually, I'll turn this to the side so you can see in this other camera what I'm doing. I'm not cutting all the way through to this side. Okay, so I've got that. I'm going to turn this over. We're going to slice this fat part, the thicker part, in this direction. And my knife is pretty sharp. Wish I had somebody else running the camera right now, just because I can't touch the camera and point it down this way because I've got dead pig on my hands. But hopefully my other camera's picking this up where you can see it well enough. Okay, so what started out as a long piece of meat, I've now cut kind of in a Z shape on the end, and it is a much flatter, larger piece of meat. Let's see if I can get this even flatter. Okay, all right, let me bring my bowl over. And I have the insert to my roasting pan right behind me on the counter, so all I have to do is turn around and put it in that. All right. We're going to try to coat this as best we can. hoping you can see. Oh, you can see in that. Good. Now the original recipe for the Bayou Blast is actually double that amount, but I knew I was only going to use about half of that for this, so that's why we only made up half the recipe. I will put that recipe in the description as well. So I may go with the full recipe and just say use half of it. You know how when you get a seasoning and you say, man, if this food just tastes as good as it smells, it's going to be fabulous. Well, this does, because I've used this a lot. I usually keep a jar of this Bayou Blast in my cabinet, but I ran out here recently, so that's why I made up more. But it really does taste as good as what it smells. I think this looks like it's coated pretty well. Show you what it looks like. There's one side of it, and here's the other side of it. So, did you get a look at that? There we go. And there we go. All right, wash my hands again. And this has a rack inside the insert. And this will just go directly down into the roaster. So I'm going to try to lay this flat on that rack. And if some of it touches the pan, that's probably fine. Because who doesn't like a little crusty piece of barbecue? Wash when I come back in. All right, at this point, we're going to go out and put everything together in the roaster on the front porch and get it started cooking, and it should cook all day long. Set this for 300 degrees. And I'll come out in a minute and check and make sure everything's working in here. So we're going to let this cook all day. We are back. Our pork loin cooked for about 6.5, maybe hours. It's after 5 o'clock right now. I've got the roaster inside the house. It's cooled off, and we'll bring our meat over and put on this cutting board. Okay, not hard to get off. I'm sure you can hear the doggies groaning because they can smell it. As long as they don't find anything on the floor that comes off of this, because it has garlic and stuff like that, it'll be good. Okay. All right, I'm just going to cut this up. I tasted this part right here a while ago. It was super good. It was really, really nice. So this kind of has a char to it. Let me hold this up to the camera so you can see what it looks like. There's the piece that I took off right there in the center. But that's really good. Has kind of a, if I can do this without dropping it, that'd be terrible, wouldn't it? I don't know if you can hear that. There's a crispness to the edge of it. So we're just gonna chop this up. I don't necessarily think there's enough fat in it to where it pulls apart like a pulled pork. So this will be more like a chopped pork. And because this is boneless, I don't have to worry about taking any bones out of it. Zoe, I know. Now you might be asking yourself, what's she gonna do with that? I mean, do you eat it like that? You can eat it like this. It's really spicy. It has a lot of, not heat, but I mean, the cayenne does add some heat to it. But again, I'd said earlier, if you have an aversion to the spiciness and the heat of cayenne, then don't add as much to it. But I'm gonna put this on some homemade buns or rolls and add some coleslaw to it and just make little barbecue sliders maybe, or maybe make bigger hamburger buns and make barbecue sandwiches. But I love coleslaw on mine. I don't think my husband eats coleslaw on his. He likes a lot of barbecue sauce on it. But I'm from Arkansas. We do coleslaw. We do coleslaw on a lot of stuff. Okay, I'm gonna show you what a little piece of this looks like. Hopefully you can see that. There's kind of a ridge of fat on it, but most of that is meat, and it smells so good. I don't normally eat on camera, but it's really good. It is. This is one of those things. It's funny because I had a friend come over, and I'm standing in the driveway talking to her. She's sitting in her van. She came over to pick up some tomato seedlings that I've grown. And I kept thinking, something smells really good out here. So the cooker on my front porch, I could smell it, the air wafting around the house, and it hit me in the driveway, and I thought, man, whatever somebody's making in my neighborhood, it sure smells good. It was me. I was cooking my own supper. So anyway, hope this gives you some good ideas about meals that you can set out on the porch, not fight your air conditioner. These are great for the summertime, but great for a day when you've got other stuff to do. Just let this take care of itself. Just pretend the roaster is your slow cooker. Now mine is an 18 quart. It does not take an 18 quart to do this. As you saw, there's a lot of empty space in that cooker. So if you have a smaller 10 quart roasting oven, little roaster like that, plug it in outside, put that pork loin in there. And like I said, the more surface area you have, the more seasonings you have on it, the more flavor you have on it. So I hope you have gotten something out of this and it's been beneficial to you. And we look forward to sharing something again with you real soon. Recipe is in the description. Bye guys.